Welcome, everyone, to Phoenix International Raceway. 3 races remain in the Kart Grand Athletics IndyCar Series in the campaign in Season 5, Phoenix, Portland, and California in that order. We're glad you're with us here on YouTube for Kart on ABN for these last 3 weeks of the season. The championship locked up in the favor of Rick Ravon with 3 races remaining. Now it's about who can go and grab one of these last 3 race wins to end out the month of August and to end out the season as well. Mile-long racetrack, a little bit obtuse, the shape of Phoenix International Raceway. It is a blast of the past, this track, with its old start-finish line, its old characteristics, that old bump into turn 1. No dogleg to speak of. Grass, sand, and everything in between. Ready to go racing here. 96 degrees. The track temperature, 82 degrees. The ambient air temperature. Very dry air, only 26% humidity. A lot of wind, though, and that will play a factor with these IndyCar machines. With that, we will see how things pan out today. Rick Ravon is champion. Still a lot of positions in the points to be decided. Qualifying currently underway. A little less than 4 minutes left in qualifying here. So we will take the chance to shout out our amazing Premier Tier patrons over at patreon.com/ABN Studios. They've helped us out a lot over the last couple weeks as we dealt with the storms that rolled through. It took us offline. Trade Up Slogan, Dogman2935, Eli Sasick, Jason Scott, Alfred Denny, Weekend Hobby 22, Philip Snipes, Tyler Head, B-Dogs, Colin McDonough, Blue, KJ Gibney, J-Paw, Jake Potak, and June. Thank you all for your support on the Premier Tier. If you're in the Plus Tier, you're in the ticker at the bottom of your screen that we use every week. If you want your name shouted out here on ABN Studios broadcast, the QR code or the description down below can help you get started with all that you need to do. Plus Tier or Premier Tier, both of them help. We have a lot of fun stuff coming up here. ABN playing Blood on the Clock Tower, ABN Victory Lane, ABN Unplugged, a bunch of different goodies in between, race previews, driver interviews, and more, all included there on Patreon. Also, a huge shout out to our partners over at Advanced, the official drink supplement provider of ABN Studios and ABN Sports. If you need help with sleep, with energy, with focus, a little extra hydration, or anything in between, they can help you the way they've helped us with cancer treatments over the last few months. We stumbled upon them in April. They partnered with us in July as part of our 8th anniversary on July 26th. We've been rocking and rolling ever since. So huge shout out to them for being on board with us here on ABM. You can tell that things look a little bit different this week compared to last week. An update hit our old overlay software and kind of took that offline as far as how we normally operate. So we're experimenting with some new looks with our original program user face. We were using ATVO. ATVO broke our overlay system, so now we're back to using SDK and figuring all that out. So, I just need to start to add some things here. Mostly just the number for Lance Anthony. Qualifying is done and dusted. All right, so let's go ahead and give this a shot. We're going to refresh twice. He's going to break it the first time. Yep, as we thought. And we'll take a look at the starting grid for the Kart Phoenix 225 as we're ready to go racing here this evening. Rick Ravon at the front of the board. Champion now in season number 5 with 3 races to go. He's going to try to extend his win list. 10 wins this season. A chance to go for 13 and set an absolutely impossible record. Brandon Statton alongside on the front row. Just now joining Nick Pressey Motorsports the last 3 races of this campaign. William Rucker and Scott McCann in row 2. Bobby Blowers and Nick Pressey in row 3. Lance Anthony, John Matthews, row 4. Blue Jay and Andrew Fay, row 5. R.C. Grove and Nate Fields, row 6. Row 7, Corey Colby and Lily Frazier. And then your last row, Larry Millard making his debut alongside Keel Aldridge in row 8. It is almost showtime here in Phoenix. 160 laps set to get us underway. It's Ravon and Statton at the front of the field. The green flag flies and the Phoenix 250 is underway. Six laps in the books here in Phoenix. The opening laps getting off without a hitch. Ravon pulling out to an immediate 3/4 second advantage over William Rucker now, as that gap actually gets closer and closer to a second. Brandon Statton dropped down to 5th on those opening laps. Rucker up to 2nd. Blowers up to 3rd. Lance Anthony up to 4th. Ahead of Statton, Scott McCann pressuring the 51 now in that number 95 machine. John Matthews, Nick Pressey, Andrew Fay sitting in the top 9. Blue Jade sitting in 10th right now. Jade's teammate, Lily Frazier, sitting in 11th right now. And it's R.C. Grove, Corey Colby, Nate Fields, Larry Millard on his debut, taking a little bit easier there in 15th. And Keel Aldridge running out the field right now in 16th place. And caution has come out, and it's for R.C. Grove. So caution is out for the first time. For R.C. Grove, we'll figure out why. Just tags the fence and breaks traction, and a hard hit for R.C. Grove. That is in the bus, not the bus stop, but the kink, what we usually would call the dog leg. There really isn't a dog leg to this. Just like that, his race is over. Within the first 10 laps here in Phoenix. Couple takers down pit lane, Corey Colby and Nate Fields. They both come down pit lane on this exchange. Pace car is in, green flag rolls, and we're back underway. First restart, lap 13. Rick Ravon, William Rucker, and Bobby Blowers. Look at Blowers immediately on the jump there, trying to go for second place on Rucker. No dice, though. Rucker holds on to that second position. Anthony in fourth, Staton in fifth, but holding on there over Scott McCann. On board here with Blowers. Ribbon pulling away once again. 3/4 second advantage. We're trying to close there on William Rucker. Roll bar is a huge factor in how successful you are here in Phoenix. Especially when managing dirty air. You saw him choose a different lane to William Rucker in 3 and 4. Blauer's running lower, Rucker running higher. And Blowers goes on through. Blowers up to second. Andrew Fay has joined the retirement list. His day is done. It looks like so has Scott McCann's. So immediately we are down to 13 cars still running in this race. We've almost led every lap so far. Back teammates are battling here. Jade and Frazier within half a second. Mayfield's also within touching distance of Corey Colby for that 10th spot. Anthony applying pressure for his teammate. Trying to close in on that battle. Frazier has gotten around Blue Jade. I think that was a team order situation. The teammates flopping places there for 8th. Does the same happen here for 3rd? Or will they race it out here as they come around to complete lap 25 of 160? Rucker, I don't know if he was trying to get off the bottom lane or not, but he's given his teammate 3rd place. He tried to over-under and got a little loose there. Had to get out of the throttle. And just like that, Lance Anthony up to 3rd. Trouble Nate Fields inside wall for the 57. And that is going to be a slow crawl back to pit lane. Already a lap down even before getting to pit lane. So trouble immediately for Nate Fields. Let's see if we can find a reason why for you as we stay green here in Phoenix. And this is the replay. Nate Fields, this is through turns 1 and 2. Doesn't hit the wall, just gets loose. Tries locking it up there, and not a terrible impact there with the inside wall. Loses the left front wing end plates. That might just be a 5-second repair to get done. That's what it is. Nate Fields back running in away. Replace that front wing. Takes about 5 to 6 seconds on top of the regular pit stop time to get back out and rolling. Less than 15 seconds in pit lane, and he is back underway. That's a pretty good success there. John Matthews trying to stay ahead of Nicholas Pressey at the moment. Pressey in 7th. Both him and Matthews having quiet days so far in that battle for the top 6. On board with Pressey in the 94. Matthews right up ahead. A little over a second behind is Frazier. In 8th. Jade in 9th. Colby in 10th. Blue Jay falling back a decent amount. Has now lost 9th to Corey Kobe. And this is a pit stop for the 03. Coming down to pit lane here. Unscheduled pit stop. Grayvon Cadeau sailing by. Flowers in 2nd. Lance Anthony in 3rd. The top 3 even spacing after 35 laps here in Arizona. Brandon Statton trying to close in. And caution has come out. John Matthews in trouble. He was in 6th at the time, and he will draw our second caution of the day. We'll take a look at what happened. Again, turns 1 and 2 have been the bad point. Very similar crash to what happened to RC Grove. And completely loses the nose of that car. So a very similar crash to what happened with RC Grove. Blue Jade and Keel Aldridge will work themselves back forward here. Aldridge, I believe, should get the free pass. Indeed he does. Jade will get the wave around, having just come down pit lane. And Nate Fields will likely get that wave around as well at the end of the caution here. Went 3 laps down after his issue in turns 1 and 2. He'll get one of those 3 laps back. Willie Frazier now out in front. Did not come down pit lane on this go around. So Frazier looks set to lead laps here in the Kart Phoenix 225. So this will be interesting because the field, except for Frazier, have all recently been down pit lane. Aldridge came down pit lane on this caution, as the free pass recipient. Blue Jay came down pit lane 4 laps ago on lap 34. Nate Fields on lap 27. Frazier, the only one not to make a pit stop so far. So we'll see how this pans out ahead of Ravon, Blowers, and Rucker. F1 getting bunched up, ready to go here. Frazier at the front of the field. And away we go. And immediately Ravon, hot on the jump, had to actually back out of it. Had such a hot launch. Did the 7. Holder tires for the 13. Frazier trying to run a little bit long here. John Matthews has rejoined the racetrack 3 laps down. There he is. Frazier going to try to bottleneck the field a little bit here. Very curious to see how the strategy plays out for the 13 camp. Ravon with fresher tires will continue to be a threat and an issue for 13 for the foreseeable future. On board with Ravon, the champion-elect of the Crown Athletics IndyCar Series here in Season 5. It's a peak. Not quite. But you've seen the difference between fresh tires and old tires at this point. Starting lap 45 of 160. Ravon gets a really good run. Not a whole lot that Frazier could do there. In trouble, caution has come out. Kill Aldridge has spun to a stop. That's an awkward place. I have a feeling this is a turns 1 and 2 casualty again for Kill Aldridge. 3rd caution. This is a bit clumsy there for Aldridge. But indeed it is. That's what I thought it was. Tap of the wall there at a turn 2. Not quite. But he gets loose. And he never really comes back to him in the 74. And he's just trying to get that car back underway, but there is traffic, and he's just trying to avoid any further issues. And you see, this is where he spins again. And that's where Frazier tried to check up. So Frazier did get the race lead back, but has come down pit lane. So Ravon now back out in front, ahead of Blowers, Anthony, Rucker, and Staton. So your top 5 back into a similar order. Looks like Jade got the free pass. I think it was 10 cars back on the lead lap. And now the status quo at the front has been reassembled with Ravon, Blowers, and Anthony, your top 3. Lights out on the pace car, which means we're going green at the end of this lap. Let's see how things play out here on this 3rd restart of the day. bunched up here for this restart. Away we go. We're back underway to kick off lap 50. Trouble again, fourth caution, and it's Keel Aldridge again. And this time, not so fortunate for the 74. What happened to Keel Aldridge? High up the racetrack here. This time he does tag the fence in a big way. Gets run into by Frazier, who had nowhere to go. And that's a hard impact there for Keel Aldridge. On board here with Aldridge. A lot of rear damage there on the 74. Tries to get that car back rolling, but there's a lot of suspension damage here, and you see just kind of slips it there. On board here with Frazier. Going down pit lane for a front rear repair. Not a whole lot she could do in this situation. And so the caution comes out for the fourth time here in Phoenix. And that helped out Nate Fields, who got one of his laps back. He is now only one lap down. Getting ready to go back racing here. Ravon trying to get some heat into those tires. Blowers, Anthony, Rucker, and Staton, your top five. Once again, Pressey up to sixth ahead of the debutant, Larry Millard, in that 65. Jade, Colby, Frazier, your top 10. As we get back underway here in Phoenix. Jade working her way around Millard for that 7th spot. So Jade quietly on the climb once again, making that pass on the restart. Colby trying to work his way forward. John Matthews is the car he's dealing with at the moment. John Matthews also trying to race forward here in a big way. He's in 12th, 3 laps down. But he knows he's faster. He was in 6th at the time of his crash earlier in this race. Frazier trying to make a 2 for 1. Not quite there in 3 and 4. Having to pick off drivers one by one here. All this is for position for 8th, 9th, and 10th on your screen. Frazier, after a couple laps of trying, gets up to 8th. McRavon out in front in a major way, already 8/10 ahead of Blowers. No one's been able to really touch him at the moment. A full second from Blowers sits Lance Anthony in 3rd. William Rucker sitting in 4th at the moment. Brandon Statton, your top 5. Grassi trying to battle into the top 5 here in this battle with Brandon Statton as they roll through turns 1 and 2. For the 94 as he tries to chase down Statton again for that 5th spot. Preston was in touch in a big way with Statton. Kind of putting a kibosh on that battle for 5th. Statton's actually now closer to William Rucker here in 4th. Cars circling on the racetrack. We've had 3 retirements and Keel Aldridge on pit lane for what I feel might be race-ending accident damage about a dozen laps ago. Greyhounds open up a 2-second advantage on Blowers here. We kick off lap 70. The end of lap 80 is halfway here in Phoenix. We've had 5 cautions in the first 70 laps here in Arizona. Everyone now getting themselves into a rhythm here. Everyone pretty well spaced out now. Dirty air has become a factor. And this has turned into a strategy game, I do believe. Rucker and Staton, the only two within a second of each other at the moment. As Staton tries to press forward for that top 4 position. So the situation we have now with the cars on the racetrack, there's only 12 on the racetrack at the moment. Kill Aldridge's day is done. Dirty air has become a factor on older tires. And those still running will now need to think strategy. It's very difficult without a lot of traffic here. You need about 20 cars to really capitalize on dirty air at this racetrack all the way around. You need some lap traffic especially, and there's just not going to really be that right now. Larry Millard might be an issue for Ravon here in just a second. But how much has Millard actually held up the race leader? And a hazard to guess, probably not a lot. Turns 1 and 2. Ravon is clear, and Millard now a lap down in that 10th spot. Becomes a roadblock for Blowers to deal with. But you need traffic here to really create the ebb and flow of an IndyCar short track race. With 4 cars out and only 12 left, that's going to be hard to find. So you've got to think a little further forward. This goes from being an oval race to a little more of a road course race. You have to think strategy. You have to think undercut, overcut. You're looking at your fuel mileage. What number can you hit? All that does change quite a bit. Those that stay on top of that usually fare the best. Usually, if you already have good track position, it's easier to keep it. That's where Rick Ravon is, looking for race win number 11 on the campaign. We've crossed over into the second half of this race. Gap is open back up 2.4 seconds between Ravon and Blowers. Anthony a further 2.3 behind. And it's another 2.3 behind to William Rucker. Brendan Staton has kept it within a second for 4th since the restart. So I'd say if anyone's managing the dirty air the best, it is right now the 51 of Staton. Ravon, Blowers, Anthony, Rucker, Staton, your top 5, running on board with Staton here. At about 145 there in turn 2. Running your pursuit there. Still running pretty quick laps here. Lap 90 underway. Coming to 70 to go here in Phoenix. Lap time still pretty quick. Fastest laps 21.1 by Rick Ravon. Everyone right now still running about the 21.5s to 21.8s. So not a lot of drop off yet. And most of the field last game now pit lane on lap 38. So pit stops are not terribly far away. I would hazard a guess we'll see them in about the next 15 laps. Kind of watching as Staton shifts, going no lower than 4th, and quickly finding his way back up through the gears to 6th. Within 6/10 of Rucker here. Is Rucker beginning to feel the weight of those old tires? Does Staton have a opening emerging in front of him here? On board here with William Rucker, sitting in that 4th spot. Compare the speeds. He's dropping down to about 138, so it looks like Staton's a lot better in turns 1 and 2 right now. Rucker's also not touching 6th gear here. William Rucker keeping in a 5th gear all the way around. Staton's using 4th through 6th. Two different ways of approaching the corners here in Phoenix. And the gap between the top 4 have only widened. 3.3 between Ravon and Blowers. 3.7 between Blowers and Anthony. 4.5 between Anthony and Rucker. Corey Kobe next up on the list to go a lap down here. Behind him is Nate Fields. So Ravon does have a little bit of traffic ahead of him now. How much will that significantly eat into that 3.3 second advantage? 61 laps to go. Pit stops underway now to get everyone to the end of the race. Ravon down pit lane now. Blowers in his box now. And he slides the box. Rucker also down pit lane. So Lance Anthony now out in front. So his pit stop's got to be coming here pretty shortly. Lance Anthony going for the overcut here, it looks like. Grabbing a bonus point for a lap lead. Brandon Staton using some clean air. The overcut might actually work for him here. Ravon has now about 5 seconds and change on Bobby Blowers. Blowers coming up on Pressey to unlap himself. Pressey doesn't make that too awful difficult. It doesn't look like there. Few cars yet to come down pit lane. Frazier and Kobe have also yet to come down pit lane, but they pit on lap 51 and 52. Lance Anthony is in. How about Brandon Staton? Does he stay out? Yes, he does. Staton, new race leader. Comes Staton down pit lane. New race leader Nick Pressey. And Pressey with to hand it off to Willie Frazier here in just a couple laps. So we'll see where Staton comes out. Did the overcut help him get ahead of William Rucker? Staton now leaving the race, leaving the pit lane, and not quite. There goes Rucker just ahead of him. Not quite is the answer to that. Pressey down pit lane now. Frazier becomes your new race leader. Louis Frazier out in front for the second time today. Corey Kobe does not stay out an extra bit longer. Stays down pit lane with Pressey there. So 86 making his way down. Frazier ahead of Ravon by about 9.5 seconds right now. Ravon on fresh tires, good for the finish. Flowers in third right now. Anthony in fourth. Nate Fields in fifth. But also needs to make a pit stop here before this race is over. Rucker and Staton in the same order that they were in. Staton, I think, might have stayed out a little too long on that overcut. Frazier down pit lane now. Ravon puts Pressey a lap down on the cycle exchange. And we'll put Jade a lap down as well. So the pit stop sequence has been completed. With less than 50 laps to go. And actually, it looks like Fraser's race is over. Yeah, it looks like there's an issue on the exit of pit lane. What happened to Lily Fraser here? Is there a disconnection issue for Fraser? I'm not sure what happened there with Fraser at all. Fraser just kind of zaps out of existence there. And that's a huge concern. Here comes the battle here. Staton and Rucker side by side. This is the battle for fourth we've been waiting for. And with 40 laps to go, it's here, and Staton going to drive on the bottom and get around. Staton for fourth. Rucker down to fifth. Took a lot of laps to make that pass happen, but Brandon Staton moves up into the top four ahead of William Rucker. Ravon leads by 7.4 seconds over Blowers, who has got traffic in front of him. That is Corey Kobe, sitting in his path right now. Slow Blowers with the lead a little bit. And Lance Anthony likewise able to close in here on this battle for second. Just up ahead of him is Blowers. He can see him now. Lance Anthony does not seem super comfy in this race car. Anthony did not do a lot of practice prior to this race. Was not on the track much today here in Phoenix. So did not have the leg up compared to Ravon or Blowers, who did run a lot of laps in practice. Looks like Blowers finally got clear of Corey Kobe. So how much can Anthony actually gain here on that fight for second? Pressy closing in on fifth. Everyone fighting something here a little bit. Coming to the last 30 laps here in Arizona. And caution is out for the fifth time. It's John Matthews. And that's in the That's in the dog leg. So this could be another issue with turn 2, finding another victim. What happened here? Dude on John Matthews and gets loose again, and the overcorrection sends him right into the safer barrier and then lets him come to a stop there at the top of the racetrack on the dog leg. I'm going to back it up here because it looks like we're running a little high up the racetrack. He's 98. Just kind of pushed a little high. Snaps loose. It's a pretty ugly crash overall there for the 98. So, curiously here in this situation, Rick Ravon comes down pit lane for tires. So does Blowers, so does Staton. Lance Anthony stays out here. William Rucker comes down pit lane as well. So less than 30 to go. Lance Anthony on his own on fresh tires to try to hold off Rick Ravon and company. Track position is important. We saw it with Frazier. Frazier with much older tires kept the 7 at bay for almost 15 laps. So this overall, not a bad decision to make. Pressy and Jade, they will take the wave around here and give us 7 cars on the lead lap. Corey Kobe a lap down. Will not get the wave around here. Neither will Willie Frazier, who is back on the racetrack there. You see that after the technical failure for the 13. Frazier is back on the racetrack, but 15 laps down. So Anthony does have a buffer in the form of Willie Frazier. Lance Anthony has been a short track consistency machine. He's podiumed every short oval race this season. 3rd places at Iowa and Richmond. Can he break through and find a race win this season? We're back underway. 27 laps to go. Ravon knows it is time to go and clears Frazier with no issue there whatsoever. And I think Frazier not trying to hold anybody up. I think Frazier trying to let drivers go through here. So Blowers got the same treatment. Brandon Staton also had to work through lap traffic here. He's under pressure from William Rucker for that 4th spot again. Everyone feeling a little bit bolder here. 25 laps to go. Ravon, fast lap of the race. Half a second away from the race lead that he has held most of this event. Ravon went bottom of the racetrack. Lance Anthony, a way tighter race car at the moment. Not quite sure where his bars should be, his anti-roll bars. And that weight jacker, he has not quite refined his car, that 52. The same way Rick Ravon has. There's a reason Rick Ravon's won 10 races so far this season. He's on the hunt for race win number 11. Anthony running well high up the racetrack here. Rick Ravon's going to get himself clear. Lance Anthony needed to keep that inside lane shut and couldn't. And Blauer's going to be on the attack as well here. Trouble. Caution's out for the 6th time. Nate Fields. Spin out of turn 2. Freezes the field. Corey Kobe will get a free pass here. He will rejoin the lead lap in 8th. Nate Fields with the spin. I don't see any damage on the 57 car. Let's take a look here. Turn 1 and 2. It is the problem spot again, and he loses it really early into the exit of turn 2 there. Very different to what we saw earlier, where drivers were running out wide and either tagging the fence or getting loose, trying to avoid the fence. His car broke free from him right on the exit of turn 2. Cars down pit lane. Rucker, Pressey, and Jade. Corey Kobe will get that free pass. And will move. He'll come down pit lane, more than likely. Get a fresh set of tires to try to sprint out with those around him for these last 17 laps. And unfortunately, Anthony has made his bed now. He has been third most of this race, had a chance to hold on to the race lead, but does not have that 52 car dialed in the slightest. I think they'll really hold on to their 2 positions. The question is, does he have enough to hold off the one of Blauer's? And that's a hard ask. It's been a wild several laps that we rode on board with Blowers as he made contact with Lance Anthony. Almost contact there between Blowers and Brandon Statton as they go side by side wheel to wheel with less than 10 to go. This wild restart for the last 5 laps has been insane. Blowers lost third. He's going to get it back here. He's not quite clear, though. And Blowers sends it in once again through turns 1 and 2. A little hot. And Statton's going to try to respond. Statton goes really low on the racetrack and turns the one. And Blowers wrecks. And we're under caution again for the 7th time. And Blowers is going to be upset. But he's going to need to look at the replay here and understand that that was a little bit of net code that we see so often in these cars. They were throwing haymakers here at the end of the race, looking for the podium. And Blowers got bit. Importantly, Blowers making it back to pit lane under his own power. Here's what happened to cause the caution. Remember, Statton on the left, Blowers on the right of your screen. There was likely going to be contact anyway, but netcode draws the spin on the one. And for that, the 51 has plausible deniability there. I'll back it up here because it really built up through turns 1 and 2. Statton got Blowers through, so Blowers moved up to third here on this pass. And Statton was not quite keen on taking no for an answer. Goes right to the inside. Blowers tries to cover it off here. You see, not a lot of space there on the left of Bobby Blowers' machine, riding on board with him there. But Brandon Statton will go quarter speed, commits super hard to that inside lane. Blowers doesn't have much of a choice here but to swipe out to the outside. And so you can easily see that there's no physical contact between the 51 and the 1. But I would hazard to say there was going to be anyway, just with the lines that were being run. There was going to be contact at some point. But Statton gets the benefit of plausible deniability. And with less than 5 laps to go, we are lined up, getting ready to go back racing here. Rayvon, Anthony, Statton, Rucker, Pressey, your top 5. Your lead lap cars all are in a row here. Lap cars have been shuffled to the back of the field with less than 10 laps to go. So this is Rayvon and Anthony, and the leaders are all in line. Green flag is back out. Away we go. Four miles left to go here in Phoenix. Lance Anthony's going to have himself a chance to go after the 1. That's led this race most of this event. Rayvon, Anthony side by side, 3 to go. Has Anthony found something here? Looking for the outside, looking for the race lead at a turn 2. Still hanging in there. I don't think the outside lane's the right place to be. Way too far out wide. Rayvon gets clear, but Anthony gave it a solid shot. With 2 to go, he's going to have maybe one attempt to get back to him. Remember, Lance Anthony on older tires as well has not come down pit lane for those fresh tires like everybody else. Coming to the white flag, 1 to go here in Phoenix. Rick Rayvon coming around for his 11th win of the season. He has been electric in this campaign. Out of turn 4 for the final time. Rick Rabon wins in Phoenix. Anthony and Staton round out your podium. William Rucker 4th. Nick Pressey in 5th. Bobby Blowers in 6th. And Blowers giving Brandon Staton a piece of his mind there. Blowers ended up in 6th in this event. Rick Rabon, your race winner here in Phoenix. In a pretty significant way. Race results on your screen. Rick Rabon, Lance Anthony, Brandon Staton. We'll hear from your podium finishers in just a moment. William Rucker in 4th, Nick Pressey in 5th, Bobby Blowers recovered to 6th. They had a Blue Jade and Corey Kobe. Nate Fields 1 lap down, Larry Millard 2 laps down. Willie Frazier, your last finisher, 15 laps down after that technical failure. And then John Matthews, Kill Aldred, Scott McCann, Andrew Fay, R.C. Grove round out the 16 that started the race here tonight. Post-race interviews coming up here on ABN. And for the second time this season, we get to talk to Brandon Staton. Another podium here this campaign. Brandon, walk us through that race. That was a wild one. That 51 car looked pretty good in traffic, though. Kept it closer than most throughout the race tonight here in Phoenix.
Yes, sir. I mean, as with a lot of other races that I'm good at, it's a tire-saving one. You have to be really careful about what other people are doing, because they can bait you into going faster than you're comfortable going, which will burn up your tires. And I've just run this track a lot, and I feel very comfortable here.
Obviously, this track runs best when there's a little bit of traffic to sort of play, and everyone has to make compromises here. Not a lot of compromise needed to be made. It was pretty straightforward. The race that needed to be run tonight, you talk about saving tire, having that experience here at Old Phoenix International Raceway. That being said, it still took you almost 80 laps to make that pass there on William Rucker. A full pit stop sequence had to be done in the meantime. How difficult was it maintaining that patience and composure, seeing him in the distance, but not being able to close in for the better part of half the race?
I wasn't really concerned. At that point, I was saving fuel, and I knew that if I was able to stay up against him for a long time, I was going to be able to get him in the pit stops with fresher tires. So I was just waiting and doing my best to be patient.
And it worked out here. A second podium in this campaign. A fantastic job here, adding on to the podium that you got back in Kansas a few weeks ago. 2 races to go, Portland and Fontana, to end out the campaign here in season 5. What's the vibes going into to Oregon next week?
Just go fast.
A good concept to go with there. Brandon Staton, P3 for the second time this season. Did it at Kansas a few weeks ago. Backs it up here in Phoenix. Brandon, congratulations. Before we let you go and let you enjoy the weekend coming up, does anyone shout and say thank you to? The floor is yours.
I'd like to thank the friends that were able to stop by and watch. I'd like to thank Lance Anthony for putting on this league. I've been having a really good time here, and I'd like to thank everyone that runs in it. It's great. It's a lot of fun. Thank you very much.
A phenomenal job for Brandon Staton, P3 for the second time this season. An outstanding drive for the 51, the rookie, making his name known in that Rookie of the Year conversation. Lance Anthony is a consistent driver on the short ovals. Podiums going into tonight at Iowa, both races there. as well as at Richmond, and I believe a podium at Gateway as well. I have to double check on that part of the process, but a chance at a race win, left knocking, second place tonight at Phoenix. Old tires, ultimately the undoing there. Walk us through that race for you, because again, pretty strong 52 car, not a lot of practice tonight, and it seemed like that practice was a pretty important concept there as far as getting the last piece out in.
Yeah, for sure. Luckily, I found a balance kind of early on in practice that I thought was okay. That fit me pretty decent. If you looked at my practice times, I was pretty quick. Obviously in qualifying trim, about the same, 6th or 7th, 8th, in that range. For some reason, I could not figure out single lap speed in this dang car to save my life. But my race pace is always pretty solid. So I thought that I had a decent balance. Didn't practice a whole lot, and then I got kind of not sure what happened to the outside row on the initial start, but was able to jump 2 or 3 guys there, and then was kind of just in 4th or 5th. Got by Brandon early on, and then kind of set sail on the top 3, and then got by Willie, and then I kind of just watched Rick and Bobby drive away. So I decided to just try to save fuel the best that I could, in case we had some green flag stops, and then tried to push, the last 10 laps or so. But truthfully, I had nothing for either one of them. So kind of realized I was just a 3rd place car. And then the way the yellows fell, I knew I had to do something different than those 2. So that's why I decided to stay out. I thought maybe clean air would be my friend there, which it was, for sure. But ultimately, the older tires just I couldn't really make it stick in 3 and 4. So ultimately that's what pretty much cost me. Rick was able to go low, and I tried to rip the top, and it just didn't work out. But yeah, I wish they would have been the ones to stay out, and I could have pitted and been on offense. But I guess as the top 2 guys, they earned that right to do what they need to do, and I have to be the oddball out. So yeah, it was a good race though.
Obviously a phenomenal job. Second place in points there. Blowers, unfortunately, with the bad luck there at the end. Now the gap is opened up to 26 points with 2 races to go. Portland coming up, and then Fontana to end out the season. So pretty good margins to work with here, though Portland is a difficult racetrack to come up on here this late in the season. What's the sort of the mentality? What's the momentum going into that race next week?
Well, first of all, I want to say sorry to Bobby. We kind of got together there. I don't know if I just got on the brakes a little bit earlier than what he was anticipating, or if he sent it too hard. But if that was my fault, I apologize. On to Portland. I'm horrible at Portland. Looks like it's going to rain. I might as well not even show up in the rain. But truthfully, we're kind of in the middle of moving and stuff, so I don't know if I'm going to be there anyway. But if I do get to show up, it's just, if I finish, you'll see me doing donuts in the festival cars for sure.
A difficult race. The threat of rain is high there in the Pacific Northwest with 2 races to go. The last road course coming up next Thursday. Before we let you go, and obviously let you focus on getting ready for that move and continuing to get ready for that this weekend, if there's anyone to shout and say thank you to, the floor is yours. Congrats on another podium in this campaign. 100% podium rate on the short ovals this season.
Thanks. Shout out to Rick. That was a good battle there the last few laps. Wish I had a little bit fresher tires to make it a little bit more interesting. But shout out to the Shade Tree Mechanic on YouTube for being on the car this week. Crown Golf, Magnolia Laser, Pulse Productions, LA Designs, ABN. Appreciate what you guys do each and every week for us. Incredible partnership, and I'm looking forward to the future. And shout out to you.
A phenomenal drive for Lance Anthony, P2 here in Phoenix. We hope to see him next week in Portland. If not, we will definitely see him in 2 weeks' time for the finale in Fontana. That's going to be a wild ride as well. We have been there before recently, so we'll see how things play out there. But Lance, obviously, congratulations on the podium, and we'll hopefully talk to you again very soon.
Yeah, thank you so much.
A phenomenal job here for Lance Anthony, but the man of the hour, 11th race win this campaign, the champion-elect of the CART, Crown Athletics IndyCar Series, Rick Ravon, put on a clinic. Stop me if you heard this before. Most laps led, pole position, wins the race. 138 laps led of 160, and if it wasn't for pit stop sequences, that number would probably be higher. Rick, walk us through that race. That was about as much of a spanking as you could put on the field here on the short ovals.
I'm not really sure. I just, I was kind of foot to the floor. Trying to think. It was getting super loose off of turn 2. It would get loose off of turn 4. You really had to know what you were doing with the bars and the jacker. I'm trying to get back to the start finish line here. And try to save tires if you can. Clean air was very important. When I got here, when the server opened tonight, I felt kind of lost. I was off by about, I guess, 2 or 3 tenths. Anthony, he was the man to beat, and then they kept raising the bar, and I kept kind of dialing it into and finding some speed, and then Lily stayed out under the yellow, led a few laps there, and I was setting up for a pass, and the yellow came out. That would have been pretty fun, but it was nice to see Lily up there. And I don't know, the closing laps, a couple of yellows. It's just a matter of trying to get the jump and just hold him back there. That battle with Lance Anthony, though, that last restart, by the way, boy, oh boy, I almost threw it away. I almost blew it because I know that they have green, white checkers. They have one. And so I wanted to make sure I had enough fuel just in case. I wasn't thinking about that. When you run a lot of different leagues, there's a lot of different rules. Different leagues, they do things slightly different. And here they run a green, white checker. So I had it in map 8 trying to save fuel, and then the green came out. I'm still in map 8, and I saw Lance running up on me. I was like, damn, that hybrid that he's got is amazing. And I realized, whoa, wait a minute, I'm in map 8. So I had to quickly bring it back down to where it was supposed to be, and I almost threw it away. But congratulations to Lance. It's great to see him up there as usual. And sad to say that I guess this might be his last race for a while. He's got some things going on, and we're going to miss you out here, buddy.
Yeah, Lance, we just talked to him there. He said he's in the process of moving, so whether or not he does the last 2 races is up in the air, depending on how well that move goes. Hopefully we do, obviously. We love seeing him on the racetrack, and obviously the short ovals, he's been a rocket ship on the short ovals. 2 races to go in this campaign. Obviously, you locked the championship up last week in Atlanta with your 10th race win. You grabbed your 11th here. You've had a lot of road course pace as well. There's going to be some road course ringers in the mix there in Portland. A lot of people love that racetrack in the Pacific Northwest. Next Thursday, the threat of rain is also pretty high going into that race. So some variables we've not seen in this season so far. What are the vibes going into that race on next Thursday?
I just want to congratulate Tucker Sawyer on his victory next week. He's clearly the guy to beat on road courses. We'll try to stay with him, but whatever happens. Championship's locked up. The pressure is off. I'm just out here having fun now, and so it really doesn't matter. I'd like to make that tally 12, and then maybe 13. That would be just. What a season! I still can't. I can't believe it. I feel like I'm dreaming, but. Next week is probably Tucker's race, and that's all good. Next season, I'm not gonna qualify just for fun. I'm just gonna sit in the back of the pack and see what we can do. But we'll see what happens.
A phenomenal drive in this race here in Phoenix. Get 138 of 160 laps led, all but 22 led by the 7-car here tonight. Rick Ravon, a phenomenal drive from pole position. Lights out performance here in Phoenix. Before we let you go and let you get ready for the weekend coming up, hopefully it's a wonderful weekend for you and the race in Portland next Thursday. If there's anyone to shout and say thank you to, the floor is yours. Again, a phenomenal drive. We say it so many times, but that was a clinic of a performance here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Carmen. I want to thank you for broadcasting these races, obviously. Love watching these broadcasts, especially when you win. It makes it a little more fun. Thanks to Lance and everybody who puts on Crown Athletics. Thanks to all the drivers for showing up. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks to my wife who lets me indulge in this little hobby of mine, which is hands down, bar none, the greatest hobby that anybody could ever have. So if you're watching out there, get iRacing. If you're a race fan, get iRacing. Don't walk. Run to the store. I know, actually, it's online. You get it online. But anyway, get iRacing. You won't regret it. And you can thank Rick later. I love you, my wife, my kids, Zoe, Mila. I love you guys with all my heart. And last but not least, the Lord Jesus for dying on the cross for me. If it wasn't for him, I'd be spending eternity in hell. Thank you so much, Jesus. You're everything. And I can't wait to spend eternity with you. And that's about it.
A phenomenal drive for Rick Ravon, the champion-elect here of Season 5 in the Crown Athletics IndyCar Series. Race win number 11. Can he grab number 12 next week? We will find out. Rick, congratulations. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you again on Thursday.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you. A phenomenal job for Rick Ravon here in this campaign. 11 race wins is electric. Again, one last look at the results. Rick Ravon, Lance Anthony, and Brandon Statton, your top 3 here tonight. William Rucker, Nick Pressey in the top 5. Bobby Blowers kicking himself, having to recover to 6th place after a very late issue netcode contact there between him and Statton in that battle for 2nd. Blue Jade in 7th, Corey Covey in 8th, Nate Fields, Larry Millard in 10th, Lily Frazier, your last finisher, in 11th. Frazier clarifying a fire alarm went off on the number 13 side of things. Thankfully, everything is okay on the 13 side. There is no actual issues there, but a fire alarm test did go off there for the 13, which did force a brief abandonment of the event. John Matthews, a couple of hard crashes, ends up retiring from the race. Same with Keel Aldridge, Scott McCann, Andrew Fay, and R.C. Grove here at the end of Phoenix. 2 races remain in the Crown Athletics IndyCar Series campaign. Portland next Thursday, and then 2 weeks from now, we head to California for a race in Fontana. We hope to see you then. We hope to see you on Sunday as well. We'll be right back here at Phoenix for the Winstyle Cup Series race. You're not going to miss it. Until then, on behalf of everyone here for CART, for all its partners, and everyone here at ABN Studios, I'm Carmen Sienna. Thank you so much. Stay safe and stay healthy. We'll see you next time here in Phoenix on Sunday. Until then, so long, everybody.